Hi YouTube, so if you don't know who I am, my name is Crimson. I'm a Magma Henchman Dragon VTuber, and recently on stream I beat the 3.0 Zenless Zone Zero story, and I wanted to discuss a little bit about some of the things that I recognize from the differences with 2.0 story versus 3.0 story. So if you don't know, I played the game when it first came out, which amazingly loved on day one. It was such an amazing game. And then definitely when 2.0 hit, I kind of got a little bit washy about wanting to play it. And I didn't really know, like, hey, how's it going to go? So I didn't really know what I should do with if I, should keep playing or not. I definitely I got to 2.2, and that was definitely a moment where I was like, okay, I'm going to take a break. And I took about like a 6 month break from playing the game. And it kind of made me fall away from playing Zenless Zone Zero. But with the addition to 3.0 getting announced, I got back into it. I was like, okay, I'm going to give it a second try. I want to see what it's about. So I sped through all of the updates from 2.0 to 2.6. I went, okay, that wasn't the greatest thing ever. But with 3.0, that was a different story into what I actually liked. So I want to discuss about what I thought the differences between 2.0 and 3.0, and hopefully seeing greater things to come out from it. So with 2.0, it was a good introduction to a new cast of characters to come out. But one of the things that really stuck out for me that I felt like I had trouble with getting more into was it felt like it felt really small. It didn't feel like there was a lot of exploration that you did, and that really ruined it for me, because a lot of the updates was, here's the temple that you go to, so the Subian temple, if I'm saying that right. You went to that for a lot of it, and then it was just kind of do some stuff, come back to the temple. Here's a little bit of a talking segment, come back to the temple. And it was that for a lot of the story. And it just didn't feel like I got to see a lot of the areas that you could see that could come from the game. And it just felt really restrictive in a lot of exploration that you could do. Now, one of the things also I had trouble with is there was a lot of talking. And it wasn't just, hey, we're talking about things happening in the story. It was a lot of jargon, so a lot of unnecessary information that was just being said for a long period of time. Now, unfortunately, that is a lot of gacha games that do have a lot of talking bits, but they have a lot of like talking bits and then action and then talking bits. And it just felt like a lot of it was big segments of talking, and I couldn't really get into it because it wasn't with a great cast of characters. I would say I thought some of the characters were really pretty. I thought when Orphe got announced, I was like, oh yay, she's basically a dragon lady, but she technically isn't. But if you're wondering, that was a survey question I did come up with, which I thought was pretty funny. But it, out of the big array of cast of characters, that was the only one that I really appealed to. Now, I did pull for Yu Zhuan, and I wanted to get some of the characters from the very first update. But when it later came out, 2.2, 2.3, 2.4, I just could not get interested in a lot of the characters that came out. Now, I'm not saying that they're bad designs. I'm just saying I didn't feel that there was a lot of story elements that could come with them that I went, oh, this is really cool and stuff. So I'll go through a little bit of each bit of 2.0. It's a little bit hard to keep track of everything for it. But so 2.2 was when they introduced Oval Squad, which that was the turning point for me where I fell apart from the story. But I did really enjoy the character design a little bit, but it wasn't like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. Because with 1.0, that was, for me, it was Jane Doe. I mean, if you don't know me well enough yet, I just 24/7 I'll talk about Jane Doe if I want to. She is the perfect character to me, and that was all that I could go for. But in this set of updates, I didn't have a character that was like that. There wasn't a Jane Doe for me where I went, this is the most amazing thing. Now, I'm not saying, it needs to be a Gunnar character, but, that's definitely an option if you want to have that in. But, so 2.4 happens, 2.3 and 2.4, they kind of displayed an array of characters. Here's Lucia, here's Yahara, hey, they're characters. They're in the story, here, just introduce them. But they didn't do much with them, which was kind of sad. They just kind of go, here's characters, okay, we're just gonna move on. And I know there's probably some story quests that you could do that explains more of their story, but I did enjoy Lucia's kind of boss story that you went through. I thought that was cool. But then Yadhara's just kind of there and stuff. And then 2.4, yeah, I can this not much going on there. 2.5, that was when they introduced Yi Xuan. And honestly, for me, her design isn't that memorable. And it felt very odd that for 2.0, the whole thing was like, oh, here's this sword that, you know, one of the characters talked to with the sister was using it. And it felt very odd that all of a sudden, hey, here's a character that was using that sword to just kind of start using it. And hey, they didn't really... I know in subsequent updates, they're not going to mention the character in all their updates, but it felt odd to just kind of be like, here's a character, and she uses the weapon, and here she is. And I was just like, okay. Like, I'll say that I think the design of the eyes that a lot of the characters they do are really pretty. But with this character, that was all for me that they had going for. Now, I'll say, in combat, probably one of the strongest characters in the game. Now, I could be wrong, but from the way that they tested them in modes, Yu Xuan seems really powerful if you wanted to go for that. But other than, like, story and, like, getting into it, I wasn't really like, oh, that's, like, a really cool character and such. And then with 2.6, I had really mixed feelings on it. I wasn't really engaged compared to the first major ending of updates compared to 1.0, because it had all of the characters there at once going, hey, we're all helping out with this really cool momentous thing going on. But then with 2.6, they were kind of there, but they were just there in little cutscene bits, and then you kind of played them, but they weren't there fully engaged directly with what was going on. And the anticlimactic, I wouldn't even say it was anticlimactic, the little bit at the end didn't really make me go, whoa, this is the craziest thing ever. And now I know to make good storytelling, you don't have to make it, whoa, this is the crazy good best thing ever. But when in the first one, it just felt like this really cool moment that you were doing, and it felt like this ending completion, and then, oh, at the end, oh, here's a little bit snippet to lead into the next bit. This one was just, oh, now I just had, like, I was just more confused, like, oh, how are they going to do it? It wasn't like, oh, what are they going to do with this story? It was more just me be confused, like, how are they going to do it, if that makes sense. But, so I was just like, okay, this wasn't the greatest thing. I'm kind of worried now. But then the epilogue stuff was what I got really interested in. When it got to the epilogue, I was like, wait a minute. The cast of characters they're introducing, I think, is really cool. They're bringing back a lot of the old characters and doing some more things with them. They're, as I said, introducing a new cast of characters, which I think is good. And they're telling a lot of bits that I'm really interested in. So I do that pose, you know, the gamer pose. You start, you know, stretching your back, and you're like, oh, now I'm like actually engaged in this. And it felt way more fun getting back into the main story of, hey, what's up with Belle and Wise, the main characters, and what's going on with them, and leading more into that. And I was like, wait, this is getting interesting. I'm more interested in all of this. And so then you get to like the ending, and you're like, whoa, this is I didn't expect any of this to happen, and this is like getting really, really good. And then you start 3.0, and I was like, whoa, this is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. So I want to say straight off the bat, I am so glad they chose Billy and Cynthia as the characters that joined. They are so good at voice acting. I love their voice actors so much. If you wanted to put them in a podcast room and just have a podcast of Billy and Cynthia, and I could listen to that forever. I love that so much, of them going one off each other. They bounce off each other so well. And just the little funny jokes in the middle of it. It's just so good. I was so engaged with what they were saying. And the area that they chose is just so vibrant. As I have it in the back of me, there's just so many cool things to look at. And it just feels like this giant, beautiful area fleshed out with such amazing story that you can look at. Now, I'll get into my favorite bit right away. My favorite thing with Zenless Zone Zero is definitely Bangbu. Other than Jane Doe, I'll say that right away. The Bangbu just make Zenless Zone Zero what it is. And to have a whole area about Bangbu is the best thing that they could ever do. I just, in this, you'll see them like walking by, and I'll just stare at them going, what are they doing? What's this going on here? And I'm just like engaged so much with looking around at all the amazing cool things as he is just walking by me. Look at him go. Just, it's so brilliant, and I'm so glad to do more. Like, I was always worried, like, oh, okay, the events are all about Bang Boo, and I think that's really good, but I want to see more with the Bang Boo, and to tie that into really good story elements is just so much fun. So with 3.0, I'll first say off, Velina is definitely my favorite character for right now that is going on. You can decide for your own what reasons that is. You can decide on that. But the 3.0 story was so good because, as I said, it ties into really good points with the main characters, Belle and Wise. It leads into, hey, we're introducing some new things that are really cool with the main story. And it just feels like tying a whole nice ribbon of, hey, this is all the great things we're doing, and then here's what we're doing next. So I haven't started 3.1 yet. I'm saving that for a little bit later. If you want to check it out, you can check it out live at my Twitch. But overall, introduction of Ramiel, very pretty. I managed to pull for her. It took everything I had out of my pulls, but I did get her because I really wanted to check her out. And she's good with Anomaly, so I had to get someone for Jane Doe. I didn't have a very good Jane Doe team. But it feels super cool. The enemy designs that you run into are some of the most amazing designs ever because I don't know what to expect from them. And I'm just really looking forward to what happens next. So I'm going to check out 3.1 later on. If people like this enough, I'll definitely do a review on what 3.1 is and what I'm excited for, and maybe, decide on what I want. But if there's anything that you want to come from these little short video segments that I'm trying out, comment it down below. And if you made it this far into the video, comment down how much you like Jane Doe. That's very important. But yeah, discuss what you thought as well, if you share the same thoughts that I do. But I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and make sure to expect more to come with that. So goodbye.